Hello everyone, how you going? Welcome to 12 geography facts no one told you about. Now it's obviously good to be informed, and so let's just see what we can learn, 12 things at a time.
Oh, check this out. 12 strange U.S. geography facts no one told you about. The U.S. enjoys some very impressive statistics. 50 states, 325.7 million people.
Ooh, actually, when was this? May 2018, good to know.
14,146 McDonald's restaurants. Oh yes, and some truly wacky geography facts.
Yeah.
Get ready, because some of these geographic anomalies can be mind-boggling. Keep watching to learn which site to visit if you want to be in 4 places at once.
Wait, which site to visit? Oh, okay. I was thinking like which website, not which particular site on the map. But no, going back to, what was it, 14,146. Honestly, I wonder how many Australia has. Today there are over 970 McDonald's restaurants across Australia, and we employ more than 100,000 people. Okay, but 970, is that it? I mean, in saying that, I feel like there's one around every corner, and so for them to have, I guess, 14 times, I mean, like, to be fair, they have about 15 times the population, so it kind of works out, I guess. And I know if you go to New York, there we go, it's listening to me, New York, and then you just search McDonald's and look at them, or what the hell, why is there 2 like literally around the street? I don't understand. That just take 4 more steps, or maybe you just can't because you're gonna have a heart attack. But no, look at how many there are just on Manhattan Island. It's ridiculous. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and so hey, considering the fact that there was 14,146, I believe, then honestly, if it was that dense, you'd have millions.
Counting down from number 12. Buildings in New York have their own zip codes.
Wow, okay.
Manhattan is one of the most densely populated areas in the world.
Yeah.
It is so unbelievably crowded that there are over 200 zip codes in Manhattan alone, and there are over 40 buildings that are large enough to have their own zip codes.
I mean, we were literally just looking at Manhattan Island, and so for 200 zip codes to be right there. And also, considering the fact that, what is it? Is it Central Park? No, Hyde Park? No, yeah, Central Park takes up a pretty decent chunk of the entire island. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. Now, I'm just wondering, does it have its own zip code, or does it just have 10?
The Empire State Building, the General Motors Building, the Chrysler Building, Park Avenue Plaza, and the MetLife Building are some of the lucky few that can claim their own zip code.
Yeah, I wonder what they are.
Number 11. Alaska is everywhere. Alaska is the westernmost, easternmost, and northernmost state. Wait, what? If you look at a 2-dimensional map, it makes immediate sense for it to be the westernmost and northernmost.
Yeah.
But how could it be the easternmost?
I want to take it back and just look at the map and try and figure out what he's talking about. I mean, I guess if you flip it upside down, no, not upside down, sideways, in terms of you have the Atlantic on the split instead of kind of the Greenwich Mean Time Pacific. But then no, that still wouldn't change the entire thing. And so maybe unless they hold a territory all the way over in Denmark, Iceland, somewhere in Europe or something, I don't see how that is possible.
As you can see, Alaska is pretty close to Russia.
Yeah.
The state stretches so far west that it reaches into the eastern hemisphere. So, if you want to experience the northern, western, and eastern hemispheres, simply head to Alaska.
Right.
Just make sure you bring a really warm jacket.
Yeah. Alright, well, I guess I can understand what they're trying to kind of stretch out into a fact, but at the same time, I don't really agree with it. Just because something's in the eastern hemisphere doesn't mean it's the easternmost. I mean, if they said something like it was located in the north, east, and west part of the world, then I can understand that, and you go, okay, that's a little bit weird, but oh, okay, now it's located in the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere, but to say it's the easternmost, I just don't think that that's correct.
Number 10. You can walk from the U.S. to Russia.
Oh, really?
Walking from California, Oregon, or Washington to Russia would be impossible unless you have magic powers that allow you to walk on water. But it's a very real possibility from Alaska.
Wait, what? How?
During the winter, the small area between Alaska and Russia freezes over. In the middle of the Bering Strait are 2 islands. Big Diomede is part of Russian territory, and Little Diomede is part of Alaskan territory. The distance between the two is just 2.4 miles.
Damn.
Technically, you can walk from Little Diomede to Big Diomede, or from the US to Russia, and tell all your friends about how you visited another country.
Damn.
If you do decide to brave the freezing cold for this trip, just know that it can be a dangerous journey that isn't really recommended.
I can only imagine, my goodness, that would get cold, but man, I just want to see, how big is the distance? Let's just leave McDonald's behind. I can't imagine I'm going to want to be searching this area once I get up here. How close are they? And honestly, I can only imagine these are quite disputed territories between Wales. There's how many Wales are there? But no, 90 kilometers. Wow, that really isn't very far. When you look at the map, even given the massively overstretched projection, I would have said, oh, you know, it would work on the world scale. It's going to be like 400k or something, but no, 90 kilometers, that's insane. And then as he said, this one was, okay, 2.5 miles, so 4k between the two. I mean, I don't understand how the two work like that. How do you be so close? Is there anyone living on these islands? Wait, what? Crashed? Whoa, I don't know if I understand that. Anyway, but no, it doesn't look like there is any inhabitants on these islands. Oh no, I'm wrong. There we go. There is something going on there. On the US side, I don't think Russia seemingly had anything. So yeah, I guess the US is just keeping an eye on Russia, and Russia's probably just hunkered underground like smart people, just keeping out of the cold, for goodness sake. But this just honestly looks like an absolutely barren wasteland, and I don't particularly fancy going there, even if you can just walk across between two countries.
Number 9. Canada in California.
Okay.
The population of Canada is 36.7 million.
Yes.
But California still houses more people than the entire country of Canada. California is the most populated state in the U.S., with 39.5 million people. It's followed by Texas, Florida, and New York in that order. If being around too many people isn't your preference, then Vermont or Wyoming might be for you, as they're some of the least populated states.
Well, I guess both are nice facts to know in terms of if you like people, you're a people person, just go to one of those four, you know, especially California being, I'm just going to call it 40 million people, which is, I guess it's not double Australia, but it might as well be, considering we just have 25 million, I think it is now, and they have 40 million in a single state. Are you kidding me? I mean, I've certainly covered previously, and we all know that Canada is a very sparsely populated country, basically the same sparsely populated country as Australia is, 36 million, slightly bigger, 25 million, slightly smaller, same. We're actually less populated, I believe, and I'm also fairly sure that Australia is the most remote. I mean, both are very remote, and if you go up to the Northern Territories of Canada, you're going to be having a hell of a remote time up there by yourself. But I'm fairly sure that Perth actually takes the cake in terms of just distance to any other city, and that's South Australia is the next one in terms of that's its next closest city. And so I guess that truly is quite the opposite of having, what is it, I guess LA and then San Francisco. Is there any other major cities? No, I'm not particularly seeing any major cities. I mean, there's certainly some big areas that I've definitely heard of: Sacramento, San Jose, Long Beach, and so there is definitely names on there that I've heard of, and for me to have heard of slightly smaller cities, it definitely means that they're not that small. But no, I guess for 35 million people, I guess they just, man, I don't even honestly know how many you fit 35 million people in. It's not, I guess it's a big state, but it's not the biggest. You know, if we zoom out, it's probably the size of Victoria. It wouldn't be New South Wales sized, I wouldn't think. I mean, it's pretty long, but it doesn't have this kind of width to it. I mean, honestly, Texas is probably more New South Wales size, and so you just have Western Australia, which is just a Goliath over there. I mean, yes, they have Alaska, but I think Western Australia is actually bigger than Alaska, even though it doesn't look like it.
Number 8. The longest river in the U.S.
Yeah, Mississippi?
The Mississippi River spans 2,348 miles.
Wow.
That's like the distance from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Boston, Massachusetts. Mississippi is the 3rd largest watershed and the 4th longest river in the world. It would take 90 days for a drop to travel from the beginning of the river to the end. It's that long.
Well, we certainly know about some longer waterways, or maybe not some longer waterways, but some longer time period waterways in terms of just the Great Lakes taking 2 years. No, it was 2 years to get out of Lake Superior. I don't even know how long it took to get from the top of Lake Superior all the way down and into the ocean, but I'm sure it'd take quite the while after you go through everything else. I mean, it certainly doesn't detract anything from the Mississippi River, or any river for that instance. I mean, it just takes me by surprise, isn't the right word, but just in awe, I guess. 3,800 kilometers just snaking all the way through an entire country, an entire continent. And yeah, you got the Nile and you got other rivers that are bigger, but really just any of the big rivers are just impressive.
And its size isn't the only amazing thing about this river. It's home to 360 species of fish, 326 species of birds, 145 species of amphibians, and 50 species of mammals.
Oh wow, okay, oh no. I thought he was actually just about to say 50 species of otters, and I was going to go, damn, how many species are there? But no, 50 species of mammals are a little bit more understandable. I mean, I can only imagine that these numbers are ever dwindling in the world that we live in, and also just, man, imagine the kind of circumstances that are happening in the Amazon and the Nile.
The river is also the daily source of water for 62 cities in the United States.
Wow.
Keeping around 18 million Americans well hydrated.
62 cities.
Number
That's
7.
a lot.
The shortest river in the world. The U.S. can boast
Sure.
about being home to the fourth longest river in the world,
Look at that.
but it also has the smallest. The
Aw.
Roe River is located in Montana, and it's just 201 feet long.
What?
It's about 1.25 times the size of an Olympic swimming pool.
How do you count
The
that as a
Guinness World
river?
Records had it down as the shortest river in the world until they discontinued the category.
Oh, that little river had its own Guinness Book of World Records, which is nothing to be snuffed about, just to have that title stripped away from you. Or maybe the title wasn't stripped away, it's just not printed in volumes anymore. And so I wonder what the last volume that printed it in, but the shortest river in the world. I can't wait for him to run this one out because I'm so curious just what actually counts as a river and what counts as someone just leaving a hose in, I don't know, on their grass for too long.
This little river is like a small oasis, surrounded by grounds that are perfect for picnicking and rocking views.
Nice. Oh, what? The Roe River runs, geez, that's alliteration, but the Roe River runs from Giant Springs into the Missouri River near Great Falls, Montana. Okay, the Roe River is only 61 meters long. Take me to this little fella. Oh, look at him. Where is he? Oh, I can't even see him. He's just too busy watering trees, and so they grow up and cover him. Oh, that's how the entire thing comes about, because he didn't even say. He just says, oh, it's got some good views, but no, it's just, I guess, a branch of the Missouri River, or at least that's how it would originally have formed, but I guess it has its own because its water source comes from upstream or uphill of the Missouri River, and so it's not counted, or it's not counted as being a part of the Missouri River. Either way, I wouldn't mind just knowing what the hell happened for it to just be stripped of its title, or maybe it wasn't stripped, like I said, but just completely not included anymore, because I think that's a great thing. That's exactly what the Guinness Book of World Records is all about, or maybe they care more about humans. Either way, I think the Roe River just needs to make a comeback.
Number 6. The longest coastline. Which state do you think has the
Canada.
longest coastline?
Okay.
Top contenders would be Texas,
Alaska.
Florida, and California.
No,
But it's Alaska again.
of course.
The Alaskan coastline covers 6,640 miles and is actually longer than the coastline for the rest of the states combined.
Whoa.
So, if you love the cold sea and frozen beaches, Alaska is the place to be.
Supposedly. Well, I just had to search it up just to have some kind of comparison, but approximately 34,000 kilometers, so that would be like, I guess, 18,000 miles, and so I guess really Alaska's doing pretty darn well when you compare it to an entire country. I mean, I guess they basically just take up, half the entire coastline. I mean, Canada just puts everyone else to shame with what, like 170,000 kilometers or something ridiculous? Nope, 243,000 kilometers. It just blows everyone else out of the water. It's insane. Like even Russia only has 40,000 K. How do they have so many? I understand there's a lot of kind of nuances and islands, but I don't understand. That's Russia you're talking about.
Number 5. The tallest mountain in the world.
Okay.
Yes, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world with an elevation of 29,029 feet above sea level. But technically,
Yeah.
the tallest mountain is part of the United States. Mauna Kea in Hawaii is an enormous mountain that's about 33,500 feet tall.
Wait.
So why is Mount Everest considered the tallest and not Mauna Kea?
Wait, hang on. I just want to... Okay, yes, there's about, 1,400 meters between them above sea level compared to Mauna Kea. I think Mauna Kea, isn't it a volcano which is underwater and so most of it doesn't count?
It's because half of Mauna Kea is hidden under the sea.
There we go.
Mauna Kea is the highest mountain from base to peak. To make things a little more impressive, Mauna Kea is also a dormant volcano, which last erupted about 4,000 years ago. Let's just hope this massive volcano remains dormant.
I mean, to be honest, 4,000 years ago really isn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things. You had plenty of migration going on throughout the entire world only 4,000 years ago. 40,000 years ago there was things going on. And so I don't know how many times it has erupted within the last 200,000 years, but I kind of feel like you have to tally all of them up to be able to include all of human history. But no, I'm a little bit confused. So Mauna Kea, I didn't think that it was. I mean, I guess there's some kind of nuance here in terms of, yes, they're saying it's the highest mountain from base to peak. And I'm also fairly sure there is another mountain which takes another prize. What is it? It's the furthest point on a radial arm of the entire Earth. It's the furthest point away from the center of the Earth you can be. Yeah, here we go. Look at this one. I wasn't sure that it was Mauna Kea, and I was right. I was going, it just doesn't sound right. Mount Chimborazo's peak is the furthest peak on Earth from Earth's center. The summit is over 7,000 feet, let's say 2,000 meters farther from Earth's center than Mount Everest summit. Mauna Kea is the tallest mountain from base to peak at more than 10,000 meters, which is a hell of a thing, like 10 kilometers. I mean, Olympus Mons on Mars just puts everything else to shame. It just like double, or what is it, 24,000 meters, something like that. It's like way more than double anything else. But here we go. This is a perfect comparison. Highest mountain on Earth. The answer is debatable. Highest altitude above mean sea level. Yeah, Mount Everest. Sure, take that cake. Furthest from Earth's center, like I was talking about, Mount Chimborazo. I don't know how to pronounce it. And then, of course, you just move on to the last one. Tallest mountain from base to peak. Mauna Kea, 10,000 meters, but sea level just covers up most of it. And so I guess between the three of them, they were all just competing for gold and they all win it. But I guess just like the Olympics, there's nuance to everything. You got 3 gold medalists right here and they just competed in different events.
Number 4. Point Roberts. America or Canada?
I don't know.
Point Roberts is United States territory, part of Whatcom County, Washington. The small territory is a geographic anomaly since it can only be accessed by boat from the United States. If you need to go in by land, you'll need to head in through Canada. For Washington residents living there, it must be baffling to live with a Washington zip code in a location that's basically inside British Columbia. To attend the nearest high school, students must go through 4 border crossings. But the residents seem to like the border crossings as they provide a lot of security. As long as the residents can keep track of whether they're American or Canadian, Point Roberts seems to be a nice, secure place to live, if a little inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you just love wasting hours and hours of your life, I mean, maybe there's not lines, but at least if nothing else, just in border security, then I guess go for it. But who even decided that in the first place? If you come back to the start here anyway, like what is all this yellow doing? Why is that all America in the first place? It should just kind of cut straight down here, make it a nice clean line, just give it all to Canada. Who cares? It's just a little bit. How do they even get it? Let alone the fact that I don't even know where it is on this map because the yellow is the USA and green is Canada. But then you have another little kind of peak here and that's Canada, and then do they just have this square on the end? Because surely someone with a little bit of common sense should just go, hang on a second, why are we still doing this? Let's just completely get rid of this. You're now Canada, the entire rest of it's Canada, just keep going. They can just take another 0.0001% of the land and you'll be fine. I mean, hey, I guess some people might be disappointed because you don't get the level of security that you get from Border Force, but come on, surely for your friends and family to come and visit you just by boat every single time, I mean, maybe it's cool, but it just sounds inconvenient, like you said.
Number 3. 4 corners. 4 states.
Simpsons did an episode, I think.
How can you be in 4 places at once? Unless you're on a sci-fi show, that would seem like an impossibility. But you can do this in the US. Just head over to 4 Corners, a rare area in America where 4 states meet.
Perfect.
Southeast Utah, Northeast Arizona, Southwest Colorado, and Northwest New Mexico.
I was going Southeast Utah, what are all these new states? But no, it's the southeast of Utah, the northeast of Arizona, so it's Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona border. And so I guess that must have been where the Simpsons did their episode. I believe it was a Sideshow Bob episode. Bart's getting chased and then he ends up kind of jumping between all the states because there's different, I guess, state laws and all these different things. I haven't seen it in many years, but it just burned into my memory because Sideshow Bob is just having a time of it, just trying to kill Bart like he always is, but he can't do it because of these 4 corners. He said Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, was it? No, he said, no, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. There we go. Look at that. Perfect square. I mean, but to be fair, if you come over to here, we do have Cameron's Corner, which is New South Wales, Queensland, and South Australia all meeting right here in a perfect corner. Cameron's Corner store, where is it? Right there, just in the middle of all the red earth. And hey, it's got 3 states, and honestly the earth looks pretty similar, just with a little bit of a different tint to it. But no, look at that, and they've even got a full-on monument as it's just kind of a pole in the ground.
Thankfully, no strange anomalies occur at this spot, so don't expect any aliens. If you head to 4 Corners, feel free to tell your friends you visited those 4 states.
That is just such a cheating way to just kind of rack up your states. If you're trying to do every state in a certain amount of time, you just go, yep, let's go to 4 Corners. That's going to knock out 4 in about 10 seconds.
Number 2, border states. Now, 2 states in the U.S. don't share borders with any other U.S. states.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know which ones?
Yeah, actually, I do. It's pretty easy. They've already mentioned it about 50 times in this video, and so I guess it would be Hawaii and Alaska.
If you thought of Hawaii and Alaska, you're right.
Damn it. Oh, I thought he was actually just going to pull my leg and go, oh, well, you would think that, but it's actually somehow connected because of the landmass, and it's actually these 2 random other ones that are in Russia or something like that.
Those 2 states might be rather lonely, though Alaska does have a neighbor.
Yeah.
This is a big difference from Missouri and Tennessee, each with a whopping 8 neighboring states. Missouri is surrounded by Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska.
Wow.
Tennessee is surrounded by Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Missouri. Missouri and Tennessee sound like rather cozy locations.
Yeah, and even just the fact that, what is it? Arkansas? No, Arkansas is blue. Whatever this one is, Missouri. Hang on a minute, it almost looks like their map's a little bit different to Google Maps. I don't even know what's going on there anymore, because I was about to say we just got a little bit of this Canadian USA thing going on between pink and red and orange and green. Everyone's just fighting and it goes super thin, got little arms poking out, like just why not square it off? You know, you look at all the states on the left and then just massive blocks of color besides the oceanic border, and then you come over to the right and everything's going crazy.
Number 1. Texas is bigger than you can imagine.
I doubt it.
Now, in New York City, the city stretches upward to make room for the 8.6 million inhabitants.
Oh, no.
If the world's population lived in such a condensed manner, they would only cover 250,404 square miles.
Wow.
Since Texas is 268,597 square miles, it means that, hypothetically speaking, the world's population of 7.53 billion people could all fit in the state of Texas.
Imagine that. I mean, I guess we have Tokyo as kind of an example of a mega city that just urban sprawl to the max, but that would just be insane. 7.53 billion people could all fit in the state of Texas. I mean, I'm fairly sure that Manhattan Island, is that what he said, or did he say New York?
Now, in New York City.
New York City, okay, I can only assume that he means Manhattan Island in terms of New York City, and so I can only assume that that would be more densely populated than Tokyo, but I wonder by how much, because Tokyo is just insane in terms of what it's accomplished. And I'm also fairly sure, I mean, I'll never be able to find it, but I think there was a Vsauce video years and years ago that said everyone could fit in just like a tiny little pile in the Grand Canyon. Like you all 7 point whatever billion at the time people could just fit in kind of a pile, I don't know, a couple of 100 meters high, 2 kilometers high or something like that. So once you just get rid of all the air and the buildings and everything else that is just kind of in the way, you really don't need anything nearly as big as Texas. You could probably fit it in, I don't know, could you fit it in the Vatican City perhaps? Well, I don't know.
It means that, hypothetically speaking, the world's population of 7.53 billion people could all fit in the state of Texas. That's seriously impressive for one state. Though it might be a bit crowded. Texas would be a prime spot for holding the world's future reunions.
Prime spot for holding the world's future reunions? What does that even mean? Or like, how is that related to the video at all? That's so weird, because no one's going to be needing to have a reunion because everyone's just going to be within a couple of 100,000 square kilometers of each other, which isn't going to be very much. You know, it's not even 1,000 by 1,000 square kilometers, and so when you got 7.53 billion people, that just isn't very many. Man, that would be a hell of a thing to even just see. And I guess in saying that, you could probably do that with the majority of Australian states, maybe not a couple of them, but if you move to Western Australia, you have, I don't know, quadruple that at least. It would honestly be quite roomy. You'd probably just be the average of the USA or something like that. It's that big. But no, I really enjoyed this video. It's just great fun. I mean, some of the things like you can walk from the US to Russia, I was like, there's no way. What are you talking about? And even the fact that they were saying that Alaska was the most northeast and west part, I was a little bit dubious about that. But then you just come down to, where was it? The River Roe. Just again, this book of world records holder, and then we just had mountains. There were so many great things, and I was just like, hang on a second, I know this, and I can just add in a couple more facts, which is great. But hey, like I said, this entire video was just about expanding your knowledge. It was meant to be 12 geography facts no one told you about. I guess it was 12 US geography facts no one apparently knows or is a little bit strange. And hey, I guess I'll give it to them because it is a little bit of a long title, and they've presented some pretty nice information in this video. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithm things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then make sure to check out just any other ones I've done. Also, make sure to go check out the original video down in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.